welcome to our Wayne County Board of Commissioners meeting for June 2nd, 2020. We have our hearts are heavy in a lot of ways today during this meeting, but we will have more to say about that later. I do want to remind all of us that we are still in phase 2. I've lifted restrictions, and the governor, we are not in compliance right now with 10 persons in one meeting place, but we're going to adjust some things here shortly to put us back into that situation. One of the things I'll go ahead and say is that I'd like to move the Gray family up on the agenda, so that way we can get back to as close to 10 people in here as we can. I do appreciate all of you coming. This is an occasion that we don't want to meet under these circumstances, but we're here and we are going to do the tribute that is necessary through our people that have gone to be with our Lord. The public may watch the meeting in the jury room, as always, on the 3rd floor or at waynegov.com. Those wishing to speak during the public comments or public hearing segments will be asked to wait in the jury room and escorted to the meeting by a deputy. We have a change for security reasons today to the public hearing and also public comments time. In the future, anyone that speaks, when they come up to the podium to speak, they will only have to give their name. They will have to give their name, address, and phone number to our clerk of the board, Ms. Carol Bowden, for the record. So for security reasons, from this day forward, whenever you speak publicly or at a public hearing, you only need to give your name for the record. So those are changes that we've been thinking about. It should take place, and we feel better about that. I'd like to ask, if you will, to silence your cell phones at this time, so that this may be a time, this whole commissioner meeting is a time of reverence. Today, our invocation is by Vice Chairman Commissioner Joe Dotter. Mr. Dotter.
Let's bow our heads. Lord, we ask that as we gather here today to serve our county, that you guide our minds toward working together to use our resources wisely. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May our personal faith give us strength to act honestly and mindful of others in all matters before us. We have seen and heard of unspeakable actions being perpetrated on our fellow citizens throughout the country. May you soften the hearts and minds of those who would do harm to others and instill in all of us a true sense of forgiveness and goodwill. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Mr. Camardi, pledge allegiance, please.
Please place the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have this time the approval of the minutes from our May 19th, 2020 Commissioner meeting. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from May 19, 2020. Is there any discussion or changes that need to be made to those minutes?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have that. Okay, thank you.
You already got it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was over here talking.
All in favor of the approval of the minutes, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
My apologies.
No problem. Most of the time it's me that's messing up. At this time we have discussion and adjustment of the agenda. Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We do have one walk-on we would like to add, and we do have Don Willis here with the Goldsboro-Wayne Transportation Authority to discuss and request a rate increase. So we will put that as new business number 3, and I do believe the chairman is going to make some adjustments under special presentation.
Yeah, I'd like to take the item 2 from Mr. Gray and move it up to first, okay?
Yes, sir.
Under special presentation. Is that okay with the commissioner? Sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, so any other adjustments? All in approval, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it shows? Okay. All in favor of the agenda, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion carries. Okay, Mr. Honeycutt.
First on our agenda under special presentation is motion to adopt Resolution 2020, a resolution honoring the life of Donald Milton Gray. And I believe Mr. Gurley will be presenting that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you this morning. I'm humbled that the family has asked me to take part in this proclamation as it reads. North Carolina, Wayne County, Resolution 2020-20, a resolution honoring the life of Donald Milton Gray. Whereas Donald M. Gray was born July 13, 1961 in Wayne County, North Carolina. And whereas Donald was the son of Roland M. Bud and Joanne Edwards Gray, the brother of Dwight and wife Sherry, devoted and treasured husband of Sam, the father of Jason Gray and Jessica Gray Gurley, husband Chad, and the poppy of Reagan Hope and William Gray Gurley. And whereas Donald was also loved by numerous family, friends, and all who knew him. And whereas Donald was a member of the New Hope Volunteer Fire Department for over 42 years, serving 10 as chief, and was a good and dedicated community servant. And whereas Donald was a lifelong farmer who worked from sunup to sundown. And whereas Donald lost his life on May 14th, 2020, as he began his day doing the very thing he loved, farming. And whereas Donald Gray was the epitome of these words by Thomas Jefferson, let the farmer forevermore be honored in his calling, for they who labor in the earth are the chosen people of God. Now therefore be it resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners do hereby resolve and recognize the honorable life and community service of Donald M. Gray, and extends their deepest and sincerest condolences to his family and friends. Adopted this the second day of June, 2020, and signed by Chairman E. Ray Mayo, attested by Carol Bowden, clerk. I asked that the family come. I said a little something at the funeral. This family, just on one branch of the Grays, and that's starting with Mr. Rowland, which is Mr. Bud's daddy. Mr. Rowland, Mr. Bud, Donald, Dwight, Jason, Jonathan, Jacob, Chad, Miss Joanne, Sam, Sherry, and Jessica. Just that one branch has got over 300 years of volunteer service to Wayne County. And that's something that we are indebted to, and it's still counting, by the way. But I'm honored to call Donald a friend, and the Grays were a close family of mine. And I'm going to stop there because the floodgates is fixing to open. So Sam and all the family, this is the proclamation from the county commission.
Yeah, just, yeah. Okay, before you leave, what's the preference of the board on the resolution?
I move that we adopt the resolution 2020, a resolution honoring the life of Donald Milton Gray.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Comments from Commissioner? Any comments?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Aycock.
As Chris said, this family's well thought of in Wayne County. I go back with, he's Uncle Bud to me. I go back to my childhood, when it has been a long time. But when my dad had a business here in Goldsboro, Bud Gray was one of his well-loved customers. And what Mr. Bud or Uncle Bud is today, he was when I was a teenager. He was the pillar of the community at a very young age, at least in my eyes. Because it was just something about him when he walked into the shop that he was always pleasant. Never heard him complain. He may have, but if he did, I didn't hear it. But and what he's done for the fire service in the county of Wayne and his whole family, you can't put a price on something like that. It's they've gone above and beyond serving the citizens of Wayne County. I love all of you, especially you, Uncle Bud. You've been a mentor to me, and I appreciate what all of y'all have done. Thank you.
Wayne, I got 63 years in fire service. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
I'm trying to catch you, but I ain't quite there yet.
Is there any other comments? I'd like to say that the first year I came on this Board of Commissioners, Mr. Bud Gray was on this board, and I had the privilege of serving him at least for 1 year. I wish we'd had a lot more, but I find him to be and has been the whole family. They're just honorable, God-fearing, family-loving, country-loving people. And, you ask the question sometimes, and I do. I ask God, why? Why? Well, we won't know and will not know, but the legacy that Donald has left in this county, that's all we all have. If you think about it, we're only going to be known when we leave this earth what we have done for someone else. And Donald and all your family, Mr. Bud, have stepped up to the plate as long as I can remember. Yeah, there's a lot of changes that hopefully will take place because of what's happened here. And some of our legislatures have already heard. But I will say this, and you and I were talking about this earlier. Farmers on equipment on highways, it doesn't matter if it's an interstate or a country road, there's very little respect from a lot of citizens that are driving. There's a lot of citizens that do give their right away. There's a lot that don't. So I just want to say that I thank you and your family for being here today to honor a man that, I'll be honest with you, he should still be with us. He should still be with us. But God saw fit that it should be another way. So thank you. Any other comments from any commissioner? Ms. Pate.
The Gray family's been great to me. Bud and I sort of were adversaries, I guess, in 2012. And despite the fact that I did win the seat at that time, he's treated me with nothing but respect. And so Don his son was the same. And you don't know how much I appreciate that. And like you said about being on the road, if you've never farmed and never been on a tractor on the road and people do that to you, because I have, then you won't understand. But we'll miss him. And I'm sorry for your loss, I really am.
Okay, any other comments? We have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution. All in favor of the resolution, raise your right hand, please. Motion carries. We are unanimous. Thank y'all so much for being here.
Next on our agenda is a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-22, a resolution honoring the life of A. Joe Gurley III, and I believe Commissioner Aycock would like.
Maybe come down front or do it right here.
This sure is different. It's a great honor for me to read this resolution. I appreciate the family letting me do it. Joe Gurley was a friend of mine long before he came on this board. We go back many, many years in the fire service when he was fire marshal, EOS director. I'd go to him on numerous occasions to get advice. He didn't always give me the answer that I wanted, but he always gave me the right answer. And I'd like to read this resolution at this time, please. North Carolina, Wayne County, Resolution 2020-22, a resolution honoring the life of Commissioner A. Joe Gurley III. Whereas A. Joe Gurley III was born on August 5, 1959 in Wayne County, North Carolina. And whereas A. Joe Gurley III was a lifelong resident of the Oakland community, educated in the Wayne County Public Schools, and graduated from Rosewood High School in Goldsboro, North Carolina. And whereas A. Joe Gurley served on the Oakland Volunteer Fire Department for 25 years, as well as the Wayne County Firemen's Association, his secretary and treasurer, and received the G. Edgar Sumlin Award for Fireman of the Year. And whereas A. Joe Gurley III loved his family, his community, his country, and most importantly, his God. And whereas A. Joe Gurley III was a member of Rosewood First Baptist Church and the Wayne County Masonic Lodge, number 112. And whereas A. Joe Gurley achieved success as a public servant with the county of Wayne for 36 years, including in the departments of Animal Control, Building and Grounds, and the Office of Emergency Services, the OES, where he received the Department Manager of the Year Award and retired as Director of OES in 2014. And whereas A. Joe Gurley continues serving his community as a commissioner, having been appointed to office July 1st, 2014, and serving as vice chairman from 2016 to 2019, and as chairman from 2018 to 2019. Whereas A. Joe Gurley III leaves to cherish his memories, his wife Dana, his daughters Kelly and Carrie Jo, son-in-law John R. Bell IV, his sister and brother-in-law Ivana G. and Johnny Milkovics, his precious granddaughter Avery, and many more loved families and friends. Whereas Commissioner A.J. Gurley will be missed for his working knowledge of the county, his common sense approach to every problem, his fearless commitment to the community he loved, and his ability to speak softly yet leave a resounding message. Now therefore be it resolved, the Wayne County Board of Commissioners wishes to honor the life of fellow Commissioner Archie Joe Gurley III and extend our deepest and sincere condolences to his family and friends. Adopted this day, 2nd day of June, 2020. E. Ray Mayo, Chairman of Wayne County Board.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Let's see. Yeah,
Do I have a motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we adopt this resolution.
okay. We have a motion to adopt this resolution. Are there any comments from the commission? Mr. Pate?
It goes back to where he was served in as chair and vice chair. We did that for 4 years together. Either I was the chairman or he was the vice chairman. We spoke every day. And we became great friends. I'm gonna miss Joe. He fought hard. And I understand his battle. And to his family, I'm so sorry because I miss him too. And I'm gonna let Cliff Gates go see him.
Okay. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Martin.
I would just like to say to the family, I took great pleasure in having a seat next to Joe. I think that in 2016, I can remember he and I were standing here just having just a lighthearted moment. And I said, Joe, since our districts merged down there in Mount Olive, I said, I guess we can get away with standing next to each other and doing a little campaigning sometimes. And so I know his son-in-law, John Bell IV, can identify with standing in line and shaking hands and what you have to do when you're working on getting reelected. But he had such a pleasant personality. And I knew there were times that we had differences of opinion, but we never let that become personal because that's not what this is about. On this board, we're county commissioners, and it's not so much that I'm Ed or he's Joe, it's that we're serving, trying our best to serve the public. And you can't serve the public when there's animosity or when there's bad feelings. You just have to look inside of yourself and see what is best for the community. And that's what I felt like he was about. And I just have to tell y'all this morning, I honestly had forgotten that he wasn't gonna be here until I walked in, ma'am, and looked over here. And it just hit me it just hit me in a different way this morning. I'm sorry, I guess it was just stuff was on my mind, and I was just expecting to see all of us here. But John, as I would look towards my son-in-law down the road, you have a lot to live up to and to carry on. And I wish all of you well. Thank you.
Any other comments?
When Joe came on the board, we sat down and talked, and through the years, I have found that I'm gonna miss Joe. Joe is a guiding, and he was a beacon for all of us because he spoke softly, he really listened, and he really shared his wisdom with all of us. Being on a board where you have got to come to a consensus is a tough thing, I've learned. And Joe always seemed to bring us together. Surely we'll miss him. We all will miss him. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments?
Just a couple more from me.
Yes, Mr. Aycock.
I really don't know how I got through this, reading it, but I did, thanks to the Lord. But like I said earlier, Joe Gurley meant so much to Wayne County. I mean, when he started with the county, he worked his way up. I mean, how many can say that, you started county at the bottom and worked your way all the way up to be a county commissioner? That says a lot for a man and his character. I mean, I don't know whether any of the rest of us, could have done that. But the man loved Wayne County. He, and as all of us know, that dry sense of humor he had sometimes. He catch you off guard sometimes, but he had that dry humor. But I know his family's going to miss him. Wayne County's going to miss him. The fire service is going to miss him. And not only the fire service, but when he was OES director, he looked after all of our first responders. He cared about them. But Wayne Aycock's going to miss Joe Gurley. We didn't talk every day, and there at the last I didn't bother him. But he knew where I was at. And you can look back, and we have a lot of county employees now that are where they're at because of his leadership. He was teaching a lot of the times when he didn't even realize he was probably teaching. But we've got some great employees that he helped train, and he trained them in the right way. He was a God-fearing man, and Wayne County's going to miss him. His family's going to miss him. But he's in a better place. He's not hurting. He's with his mother and his father. And I guess that's it. If the family would come up, please.
While they're coming up, Wayne, one of the things I learned from Joe is that when he and I had a disagreement, the first thing he would say is that let's go over to Grady's barbecue. We can work this out, But as time went on and I got to know Joe, I learned that Joe, as you know, was a quiet person, and he wasn't a man of a lot of words. But Joe had learned a lesson that all of us should learn, is that Joe had learned how to listen. Sometimes you're better off to listen than you are to speak. And Joe was that kind of person. When he spoke, you knew that he had done his homework, that he knew what he was talking about. He's going to be sorely missed by all of us. And the shoes to be filled are just tremendous. So you're going to be in our prayers. You're going to continue to be in our prayers as we work through this together with God's help. Let's take up.
Thank you.
Don't forget to stand.
Yes, we will.
So, when we get to be chairman,
Thank you. Before y'all leave, would any of y'all like to say? Y'all want to make a comment or anything? Feel free to come up. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the resolution honoring Commissioner A. Joe Gurley III. Is there any other comments from commissioners? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that our commissioners vote by standing.
Okay. All right. All in favor of this resolution? Whew. please stand. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Yeah, sorry, get back to,
Mr. Chairman, do you want to take a 5-minute recess, maybe?
y'all okay?
Let's keep them from waiting.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, let's,
Okay.
yes, I agree with that.
All right. Next on our agenda is motion to adopt Resolution 2020-21, a resolution awarding the service weapon to Deputy Garrison Nance, and the sheriff is here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, may I make a statement
Yes,
before I
you
do the
can.
presentation?
Yes, sir.
I served with both of these gentlemen that have just been honored, and they were both great men, and a tribute to our emergency services, both of them. And I want to thank publicly the family of these two men, as well as the families of all of our first responders. Our families, and I realize it more since I became sheriff, more than I did even when I was with, I'm still in the fire service, but I would go and come more often than I do now back to home. Actually, I'm spending more time now at the office than I ever have, and I realize our families are living our life with us, and they don't know what's going on a lot of times when we're out serving. So I would like to just publicly thank our families, our spouses, our mothers, our fathers, our loved ones, our friends that are supporting us, because without them, we couldn't do our job. And a lot of times they are probably suffering at home more than we're out here suffering doing our job. And we're enjoying ourselves a lot of times when they're really at home worrying about us. So publicly thank you and for the job that they do. And at this time, I'll do our presentation, and I want to thank Mr. Garrison for being here. Deputy Garrison, if you'll come forward, and his wife is here this morning, and again, one of our family members has accompanied him that has supported him through his career. And I know that she has lived the life through him that emergency responders have to do their job. I'd like to present Garrison Nance from the Sheriff's Office in appreciation of 15 years of dedicated service as a county employee from August 2005 to May 2020, the County of Wayne of North Carolina. Thank you for the service you have done for Wayne County and the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, sir. I know you've worked many days in pain, and you've been very dedicated, and I thank you for your service, sir. And Mr. Chairman, I have a resolution that needs to be acted on to present or Deputy Garrison his weapon and his badge, please, sir.
Okay.
Do you want to act on that?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution awarding the service weapon.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the resolution to awarding the service weapon to Deputy Garrison Nance. Are there any comments, Commissioner?
Yes, I can certainly tell you've retired.
And thank you for your service.
And thank you so
Y'all have a
much.
thankless job, and it takes a special person to do what y'all do. Thank you.
It's been an honor.
Yes, thank you so much.
I do have a question. Did your dad used to be a Goldsboro police officer?
Yeah, yes, sir, he retired with 39 years.
I used to run the employment office, and he used to come by, and I'd give him a free cup of coffee to run everybody out. He shouldn't be there. He was a great man. I really liked him.
Yeah.
He was my inspiration.
Thank you.
So this,
Yeah,
oh, I'm sorry.
any other comments from commissioners? Okay.
Thank you very much.
We have a motion, we'll just pass the motion first. Let's do the motion first. All in favor of the resolution as stated, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion carries, unanimous.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to present this to Deputy Garrison Dean Nance for meritorious service and dedication, loyalty, friendship, and professionalism that you have demonstrated in your career. Your presence will be missed, but your accomplishments will not be forgotten. This is the weapon that you carried for the protection of the citizens of Wayne County. And again, thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just glad I never had to use it.
Yep, let's do it. Okay, you want us to take a break now? Or you want to?
I'm good.
You good? Good.
I need to step down there and get my agenda.
Okay. Yeah. You want us to continue? You okay? All right. Let's keep going, Mr. Honeycutt.
Next, we do have an update on open broadband, and we are all good. We are having that done remotely, and he should be on our, we've got a presentation and also video as well, or voice, I'm sorry. Is Kent,
Hi, Joel. Alan Cantor here.
Oh, hey, Alan, how are you? Alan Fitzpatrick with Open Broadband. Alan is about 4 hours away and, trying to meet all the COVID requirements as well. We thought this would be a good opportunity to get this done remotely. So, Alan, again, thank you for your time, and we appreciate you being doing the presentation this morning.
Well, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to give you an update. We love our work in Wayne County, so I'd like to tell you where we are and where we're going with broadband rollout. Joel, is this something I need to upload the presentation, or are you going to be stepping us through the slides?
We've got your slides on the screen right now, so you just tell me when you're ready to start, and you can just say next slide.
Okay, great. So you got the title slide that says Better Internet for Wayne County up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Again, this is Alan Fitzpatrick. I'm the CEO of Open Broadband. With me is Kent Winrich. He's our Chief Technology Officer, and I believe Kent provided the update to you a few months ago. So let's go to the first slide. So just to give you a recap of where we are, on the left you see a picture of one of the water tower installations. We are a fixed wireless company. We provide broadband service starting at 25 megabits per second up to gigabit speed. And that's one of our tower implementations. We have tower agreements in place with the county, with Wayne Water Districts, the town of Mount Olive, several private owners. We also have fiber optic service in Goldsboro and Mount Olive. And on the right is, I realize a sort of a high-level view of the county and where we have customers in service today, heavily in the southern part of the county. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to zoom in a little bit on Seven Springs. We have roughly 75 residents or homes in service in Seven Springs, both north and south of the Neuse. You can see the pinpoints on the map there. In addition to the residential service, we are providing free public Wi-Fi downtown Seven Springs outside of the town hall, post office there. If we go to the next slide, we zoom in a bit on the southern part of the county and customers. And as you can see, this map is getting pretty dense with dots. So we have customers all over the area. You'll see a little gap in the upper left of this screen, which is Grantham, which I'm going to talk about in the next couple of slides. But before I get that, I did want to mention we have a free public Wi-Fi zone in downtown Mount Olive as well, up and down Center Street. The free public Wi-Fi zones, whether they're in Seven Springs or Mount Olive, are available for the public to use. There's no charge. They can simply bring their phone, laptop, tablet, any device, and access the system and have access to broadband. In a time of COVID restrictions, is also something one can do from their car. So you could literally be parking your car on Center Street in Mount Olive and still access the broadband network. So it's available to basically make sure access is available to as many people as possible. Okay, let's advance to the next slide. Next up for us is addressing that sort of gap you saw in the previous map of the Grantham area. To give everyone an update, we do have a signed tower agreement. The structural analysis of that tower you see on the right has been completed by tower engineering professionals. For anyone that's not aware of it, this is the tower next to the Grantham Middle School. We have made payment for our portion of the structural analysis. All the equipment's been ordered. We are trying to get the tower climbing done this month so we can start providing service as quickly as possible. It'll be weather dependent, but we do, we hope to get it in this month. If you could advance to the next slide. One of the reasons why we were so interested in Grantham is the demand from the residents. I'm sure the Commissioner Board has heard complaints from the residents there for quite some time about the lack of broadband from the incumbent providers. The dots you see here are not necessarily current customers. These are people who have signed up on our wait list. And a couple of circles are drawn there, a 3-mile radius and a 5-mile radius from the tower. So among, I guess, the bottom right of this slide, we actually have some of those dots already turned up from the Mount Olive Tower, but the others here are not in service yet until we get the Grantham Tower up. But this does show a strong demand for better internet in the Grantham area. So as soon as our tower is up, the equipment's been tested, we're going to be contacting all these residents and scheduling installation. But we want to thank the county, want to thank Craig and Chip for really helping us move this forward and getting service out to the Grantham citizens. Let me go to the next slide. I think one of the topics that the board has heard over time was the state broadband grant program. It's called the GREAT program. Wayne County became eligible for the 2020 cycle as a Tier 1 county. The way that the program works is areas that have less than 10 megabits per second download and 1 megabit per second upload are eligible for the grant. And this is all based on FCC data, which may or may not be accurate, but that is the data that everybody is going off of. And I do have to give a shout out to Julio Guido on the team at Wayne County in your GIS department for helping us put together this map on the right. The areas that qualify for the grant are those white areas with the black dots. So you can see in Wayne County, it's basically the corners of the county are the ones where the FCC data said that 10x1 service was not available and the grant money could be considered. So working in partnership with the county, we put in a great grant request. The total project cost, as you can see on the screen, is a little over $1 million. The breakup of this was 65% from the state. So our grant request was $665,795. And Open Broadband would put up a match of 35%, or $358,505. The number of households that, essentially those black dots in those eligible areas, a total of 727. Our grant application, unfortunately, was not accepted. One of the things that the state required was a funding commitment letter that meets or exceeds the total project cost. So the total project cost here was a little over $1 million. So this is an issue that Craig and Chip and I are working to try to get an exception from this process and hopefully use a county support to overcome this funding commitment letter. And I guess when I'm done here, we can answer questions about that particular point. Unless somebody wants to bring it up now. You want to take questions now or wait till the end?
If there's any questions with respect to this, and again, we have gotten our local delegation involved in this as well, and Chip has got a very good relationship with the Great Grant application people. So we're doing everything that we can and that we know to do to work on this exemption. And if there is an exemption that is granted, that would have to come back and be approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr.
Did I understand that we were advised to go ahead and resubmit this with the new criteria? Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I think Alan has a meeting either this afternoon with the Great Grant people. Is that my understanding?
That's correct. Yeah, I hope to get clarification on it at some point tonight.
Right. Okay. There is some miscommunication, but we want to make the Great Grant people know that there is full support from the Wayne County Board of Commissioners, but also our local delegation as well.
And the other comment I've got to say is they really call this the Great Grant application.
There's an
Give me a
acronym. There's an acronym that supposedly fits that I cannot recall right now.
The Great Wizard or whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I have a question, and I'm looking at this map, and the southern end on the right bottom of this map, is that where like Pine View Cemetery Road is, and 55 and 111? I've got some emails from people in that area who are waiting to receive internet, and I guess that's that dead zone in there. You wait for this grant to be completed. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have quite a few signups in that area, Pineview Cemetery Road area.
Yes.
At one time, there was talk about a tower going up at the new Emergency Operations Center there. And we were planning to use that if that was to happen, but I don't believe that tower went up.
I just want to give a response to those people. That's why I asked that question. And to follow up on that, in the northern part of Fremont there, is that old Black Creek Road going out that way? At the very top?
Right, the top right corner.
No, not that far. Kind of in the center there.
That's too.
Oh, okay, got it. We do offer some service in Fremont. If you remember one of the earlier slides, you made some key dots in Fremont.
Yeah.
Our coverage is fairly limited at the moment. We're on the town of Fremont's water tower. And what we really need to do is expand to some of the water district towers to cover these gaps that you see.
Okay, because I know part of that old Black Creek Road up there, they're able to receive the signal because they got the wrong tower that's tall enough, but there's some residential housing in there that's not being served. And I was just wondering if they would be served if this grant goes through.
They would.
Okay. I have to answer those people too, even though you're in your district.
Yeah, well, you asked the right question.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Kamar.
And this is a question I'm not sure, Mr. Honeycutt, and I'm not sure who can answer this. The folk are putting in applications to receive the service. Is that contingent upon, and the cost will be shared or borne by the grant or the folk who are putting applications in to receive the service? Is that a cost per family, cost per household, or is the grant?
We're trying to get the infrastructure in, so once we get the infrastructure in, it will be available. We're trying to just make sure that service is available. The residents will still have to sign up as customers for open broadband. But right now, we just don't have the infrastructure in place that will allow people to get the open broadband now. So it really a lot, it's one of those things, build it and they will come. So we have to have the infrastructure, and I think Alan has done a really good job of trying to build a business case as well to make sure that there's the demand out there for the service. And Alan, is that a fair statement?
It is. And a couple slides from now, I'll talk about some of the other ways that we look to finance opportunities like this. But customer demand is the best way, right? It's people that are interested in paying for the service.
What is the cost per month now? Is it still pretty close to what it was, or is there a cost per month?
$45 a month for unlimited service for broadband. There are no contracts to sign. So we found it to be pretty affordable. Like you saw the Seven Springs area, which is not a high affluent area, and we're finding that the $45 price point is acceptable level.
Going back to the Grantham slide, when did you say you were anticipating having that in operation?
We're trying to get our equipment deployed this month, and we should be able to serve customers this month.
This summer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Honeycutt,
Yes, sir.
it sounded like he was a little bit hesitant on the tower side at EMS Station 1, and they are aware of those towers going up, and we are going to be able to use them. The one at EMS Station 1, 7, and then the one at Eureka.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. I mean, I'm quite sure they were aware of it, but, if the general public is listening,
Right.
there is 3 new tower sites going up that
Right.
that will be
We're in
available.
the process now.
That will be available.
Yes, sir.
And they have started on those towers.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
We'll move on to I've got a couple more slides here, and then it might generate some additional questions.
Okay.
But we are still trying to get the exception on the Great Grant. The next slide you should see is potential use of CARES funding. This is an idea that just surfaced, I think it was the end of last week, that the state library system has received some funding from the CARES Act. One of the eligible areas under this is broadband availability. This is not a $1 million grant opportunity. The project is $75,000. But this could make a difference in digital equity and digital inclusion for areas where the library might want to.
Has left the meeting.
We have, and as Alan said, this really came up last week as far as the additional CARES funding. This is separate from our $2.3 million allocation, but we have had Donna get directly in touch with Alan and looking at opportunities for additional Wi-Fi at our, public Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay. If we can move to the next slide, this will touch upon some of the areas of deployment. So what do we need to actually deploy faster? There's no question that there's a need for better broadband in the county. I'm sure you guys hear it directly from the residents. So we hear it as well. Every time we turn up a customer, there's 5 more that say they want service too. It's a good business to be in. But the challenge for us is it's a very capital-intensive business. The reason why the incumbents haven't deployed broadband everywhere is the cost, trying to get a return on capital. So in a word, how do you deploy faster? Well, it's access to funding. So for each tower that we go on, we budget $40,000. And that is all the equipment, all the labor, tower climbers, it's non-line of sight equipment, it's line of sight equipment, it's electronics, it's the box at the bottom of the tower, it's the electrical run, it's the whole thing. So the tower can usually serve, 3 to 4 miles, maybe up to 5 miles away. So we need to put in a lot of towers to get a lot of coverage. So you start to multiply towers times 40,000, and then it becomes an item for the capital budget process. So not unlike what the county would go through, we have a limited budget ourselves, and we're always looking to see, what projects do we have on the horizon, what is the return on investment of those projects, and where best to spend our internal money. So without external funds, we're really limited to just kind of how things shake out with our own internal budget. So we have been going after these external funds to help drive things forward, and it's the next bullet list here. Certainly there are broadband grants. We mentioned in the state program, which is fantastic to have. A lot of states don't have something like this. There are also federal grant programs that are in the billions of dollars. The tough part for us is the federal and the state programs tend to have a lot of hurdles you have to jump through. I'm probably not telling you anything new. You probably have gone through these yourselves in trying to access federal grants or state grants. So it's not quite as easy as just sending in your application and then handing you a check. I wish it was that easy, but there are those sources of funds. The next bullet is committed revenue based. This is probably the best of the funding sources. This is where the person who's going to use the service is committing to paying for it upfront, and that helps the business case, like justifying that there's going to be the revenue to help pay back the cost. So we've been really successful with this with some businesses in the southern part of the county. The University of Mount Olive committed revenue to us. Alford Insurance committed revenue to us. Sutton TV and radio has done a partnership with us to access their tower and provide them service. The town of Mount Olive committed revenue to us. Carolina Nut, a peanut processor did, and we have a number of other customers. So whenever we can get customers, particularly businesses that might have a higher spend, to say, we really need broadband, and if you come in and you make this investment, we will sign up with you. That type of commitment really helps us justify the business case. Now, we don't have a contract for residential users, so this committed revenue tends not to be residential, but it tends to be a larger business or a government or educational entity that really needs service and says, this is what we'll spend each month. Partnerships can certainly defray costs. I mentioned with those earlier. We've had a few entities put up towers for us at their expense. Now they're getting internet service from us in return, but they're also offering it up and can serve the community. So those types of partnerships are things we're always looking for. If any of the board members are aware of organizations in the county that are just frustrated with lack of broadband and might fit into one of these two items, either committed revenue or a partnership, we would love to speak with them directly and see how we could work together, to maybe justify a project even outside of the program. The last bullet I'll just mention again is we would like the opportunity to bid on internet service to the county itself. Obviously, you're buying internet service from someone. You're buying it from one of the providers. You may be under a contract. Certainly, we would have to bid on the service, and it's not something that's handed to us. But if we had the opportunity to provide a competitive or cost savings opportunity for the county, and at the same time that revenue would help us justify further expansion, we would certainly reinvest that money to growing access in the county. So you'd essentially be one of those committed revenue sources to help justify the business case. So we would just love to have those opportunities whenever and wherever we had them in the county, the opportunities to those. So that's the end of my presentation, and so I'll turn it back open for questions on any of the topics that we do.
Any questions?
And I guess the biggest issue we do have in front of us right now is the great grant funding and trying to get some changes and trying to resubmit that. And we're working on that. And again, I want to thank our local delegation for their support in trying to get, making sure we still meet the requirements of the grant, but if the county has to step up and provide the letter of credit, the county can step up and provide the letter of credit. So there's a lot of things that we can do in support of this that we hope that they will see and approve as well, so we can get this funded and the project moving forward.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Chip, did you want to?
That's it in a nutshell. We'll find out more after his meeting this afternoon.
Right.
But hopefully we can move it forward fast.
Right, because we really know the commitment this board has and the priority that you have made broadband throughout our community, and especially with the online classes that we've had, that we know we have debt issues, and it's a public education issue that we're trying to deal with as well.
Has there been any communications with the public schools about their service?
Other than the hot spots.
Other than, but,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, other than providing hot spots, not really direct communication with them.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that was one of my questions, is his last bullet point was they'd like to bid on the county's internet. I mean, at what point would they have the capability? Because we've got equipment all over the county, and you know, now all the fire stations has got internet, the EMS stations got internet. I mean, at what point would they be able to provide that service?
And we have, the fiber loop around as well, that is county-owned. So that's a question we would have to sit down and talk with Ryan to see exactly what the contract is and what we could and could not probably look at bidding out. Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
Some of those stations carry independent contracts for spectrum.
Yeah.
Different providers.
But we'll be glad to take a look at that as well.
Okay. Any other comment? I'd just like to say that I want to give an extra elbow to Commissioner Pate sitting next to me. We were just talking about somewhere, I think it was like 2016, I believe, that we went to a NACO conference down in New Orleans. And Commissioner Pate and I attended. We just walked in, but we saw Wi-Fi in the flat plains of Oklahoma, out in the farm country in the Midwest. And, we're sending Wi-Fi signals 40 miles out into the flatland country. And we just walked in, we didn't know what we were going to see. And lo and behold, the presentation caught our eye. They were putting these signal enhancers, I call them, they were putting them on top of grain bins, and shooting this signal out 25 miles out in the middle of nowhere. And Commissioner Pate has taken this, I call it, he's taken it personally. He just really pushed to get this done. He's been a leader in this happening. What we're seeing today is directly what we were exposed to in New Orleans in about 2016, I believe it was. So I want to say kudos to you for
Thank you, but it's taking too long.
Well, it has taken a long time, but,
It's taken a lot of work, and, I give a lot of credit to Chip.
Well,
Him in his old job, and he's still
Yeah.
maintaining it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people behind the scenes, but we saw it come to pass, though. It was a vision back then, wasn't it?
That's what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo my thanks to the board. Wayne County has been terrific to work with, and without the actions of this commissioner board, none of what you saw on the screen today would have happened. Open broadband wouldn't have just magically gone into Wayne County and started providing services to this extent. It didn't happen until you made it happen. So thanks to all of you for all of your support.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Have a good day, gentlemen.
Okay.
Thank you. You too. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do the public comments on this. Or, want to take a break?
No.
We're going to go on. We're going to keep them moving. Go ahead.
We'll keep
Go
moving.
ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get into the public hearing on our 2020-21 budget, I did want to give you a quick overview of what we've done. I've got a few slides that we did want to show you to begin with. This is our budget overview. One of the things that was a clear directive from the board in moving forward this budget is not to look at a tax increase. So this budget does not include a tax increase. It will stay at 66.35 cents per 100 evaluation. And again, this is the same rate that it's been since the 2017-2018 fiscal year. So we have held firm on our tax rate. One of the things that you're aware of as well, with respect to COVID-19, and sales tax is a big part of our budget. We're projecting sales tax to be down approximately 10%. So we've seen, hopefully, we've taken kind of the middle of the road tactic. We've not gone worst case. We've not gone best case. We're going middle of the road with respect to our projections on revenues. So what we're seeing from the league and the association is sales tax should be down approximately 10%, but we're keeping an eye on that as we move forward in the next year. One of the things that was kind of a concern as well was the use of fund balance. Fund balance to balance out this year's budget is $2.6 million. Again, that is still down $1 million from what we used in last year's budget. For 1920, it's $3.6 million. In 18-19, it was $4.4 million. And in 17-18, it was $5.6 million. So we really tried to keep this as flat, really not knowing what's in front of us with respect to COVID. We wanted to make sure that we use just as little fund balance as we can to balance out this year's budget. One of the things we wanted to look at as well is what are the surrounding tax rates of counties around us, and here they are. And as you can see, we are very, very competitive with our neighboring counties with respect to tax rate.
No, I wouldn't say that's competitive. I would say that we have.
Very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. I didn't want to throw my other counties under the bus. So, but we are very, very good with
Well,
respect.
look at Lenore County. They're at 84.5 cents. Sampson, 82.5.
Yeah.
I mean, we're substantially below.
Substantially below. Yes, sir. Thank you.
If you won't toot that horn, we will.
Thank you. And as well you should. As well you should. Again, one of the questions that have come up is we have had some increases, and we'll go over the increases in this year's budget. We have had a funding formula that we have worked with the Wayne County Public School System for the last 4 or 5 years. This was worked under former county manager George Wood, and it's based upon an increase in sales tax, but also property tax as well. Remember, we did have a revaluation last year. So there was some property tax increase or property evaluations that we've had that made our property tax total go up. So that's about a $317,000 increase based upon the agreed upon formula. One of the things we did as well is there's been a lot of discussion about Edgewood. So instead of funding specifically for Edgewood, we took $500,000 and placed that into their small capital. They've had a need for small capital increases over the past few years. So instead of looking at Edgewood funding that we felt like that either the federal or the state government should be taking care of, that this was part of something that was supposed to have been removed a couple of years ago when we did the bond referendum, that we decided to not cut them $500,000, but just to reallocate that towards small capital, which is a great need for them. Again, this year is a tough year. One of the things we've done the last few years, and we've really tried to look after our employees, but we could not look at cost of living increases this year or merit increases to our employees, because that's a fixed cost. And we again, just a lot of uncertainties there. We are looking at a couple of departments with some targeted increases because we've become a training ground in a few areas, but otherwise across the board, we've decided not to look at cost of living increases. One of the things that has incurred is we are self-insured. And we've had a tough year with respect to our insurance. As the board is fully aware, we approved this change a couple of months ago. We originally, if we would have kept our plan the same, our medical plan the same, it would have been a 16% increase. In working with the board, working with provider, there is some plan changes, but it's still an 8.9% increase that we have to come up with for medical increases. So again, that's not a cost. Our employees will have to pick up that increase for family coverage, But if they're just covered individually by the county has picked up that entire cost. So that's an 8.9% increase. The other thing that we have been mandated for this year, it was the same thing we were mandated last year, is state retirement. State retirement has gone up an additional 1.2%, which means $416,000 worth of new spending that we have. So we are, we didn't increase salaries, but we did have a lot of increases with respect to our personnel costs. And then they become fixed costs moving forward. Again, one of the things we really tried to do was to limit new positions. And again, when a year of trying to be as flat or cutting as possible, we tried to limit new positions. But one of the things that we are working on is with respect to our 911 is we're becoming emergency medical dispatch. We're one of 2 counties in the state of North Carolina that are not emergency medical dispatch. And as part of doing that, you have to have a position for training and also for quality control. And that's a required position. So that's the position in 911 for training, for emergency medical dispatch, and also looking at our protocols, making sure that we're doing it right, making sure that our employees are trained and they know what they're doing. Again, we had 5 positions requested in 911. Looking at opening up, we're delaying those positions as well. And again, we have delayed a lot of new position requests this year. It just wasn't the time to do it. The one position we did add was a commercial driver for the landfill. The reason for that, it was an enterprise fund, it was a needed position, and it is not counting against our general fund. This is part of the landfill's enterprise fund, so it's not an additional burden for our general fund, because all funds generated from the landfill will pay for this position. And landfill is not subsidized by the county taxes. The other thing that we've done, and again, this has kind of been a tough budget year, is we've known that we've had to look at cutting positions. We looked at positions, there were some frozen positions. In talking with staff, we just looked at the possibility of just eliminating them from the budget. And the savings from that would be $276,000. So again, these were positions that were not filled. These are people that we did not have to lay off, but they were positions that were open, and we felt like that we could freeze them and cut them out of the budget.
Craig, going back to the driver for solid waste.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are creating one more position, but it's kind of, it won't be a washout, but the driver they got now, he can't stay up, and he's got to be putting in overtime.
Right.
So it's not going. It's with what we're paying for overtime, by hiring somebody else and doing away with the overtime, it's not as bad a sounding as it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One of the things that and again, this was one of the budgets that we just had to look at cutting. And where could we cut? And one of the places we looked at cutting just across the board was travel for all departments. And that was a saving of almost $200,000. And the reasoning for that is we've really done no traveling in the past 3 months. I think a lot of agencies and a lot of companies and a lot of training that you'll see from now on will be done online and will be done as Zoom. So we still will have some travel once restrictions were released and loosened up a little bit. But we felt like that was a place we could look at cutting was travel, and just across the board, we did that at half. This was a struggle right here, was the elimination of WayNet. And as the board is aware, this is something we have worked hard on for the past 3 years. I want to thank Chip, I want to thank Nanette, I want to thank Dave Cutterback, I want to thank this board. We have worked hard at trying to reduce our losses from WayNet. You know, WayNet is not mandatory as far as a service we provide. It's not EMS. What WayNet is it is transport. It's medical transport, but it's not emergency medical transport. So like going from doctor's offices to home, or from Wayne Memorial to Vidant. You know, if it's not an emergency, it's not required. We were overtaxing our employees. We were having tough times filling positions. When you originally took this on years ago, when Jazz went out of business, the thought process was that Jazz, you were trying to at least break even, maybe at least be profitable to buy a new ambulance. And I think it was for a while, but again, I think with some of the issues we have had with keeping our employees and those type capital issues that have come up, it's just become very, very difficult to make a profit on this. And we've worked very, very hard, but right now we just felt like if it was not required, and that there are other entities out there that are willing to do this service. Again, if you remember, we're contracting with North State right now to provide transports, non-emergency transports, from the hospital to UNC, to Vidant, and to Wait Med at night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And again, just the staffing levels was too tough for us. So what we are recommending is that we do eliminate WayNet as of September 30th. We're in the process now of trying to find a new franchise to help North State. The RFP, I believe, or RFQ have been sent out as well. So that is in the process. I appreciate Noel and Dave, and I think Andrew's done a lot of work on that as well. So we're moving that forward. We're also trying to transfer and transition those employees that want to work for EMS. We're trying to transition to those open positions as well. So we've really given them about a 4-month notice, and some will not be able to, jobs not be able to be filled. However, with the franchisees that are out there, they're looking for people as well. So we feel like that there should be jobs available within our community for those WayNet employees. And again, this was not an easy decision to make.
And Craig, also, one thing that was against us, when we started the WayNet program, since then, the pay scale for Medicare and Medicaid has changed drastically. And that didn't go in our favor. Is that not correct?
It has changed, yes, sir.
Yeah.
It really has. And again, it was very tough to keep up, especially at night with the demand and long trips. It's just, we were using EMS, taking them out of service to provide these non-emergency. And then that's not a good thing when you're using, what you're mandated to do for your emergencies for non-emergency. It was not mandated. Again, we are still looking at some capital. I wanted to make sure you have a sheet in front of you as well. We looked at even cutting from this list. Don't look at this list right, but look at the list that Janice gave you. Other than the cut to small capital from the schools is still in the budget, and there was one other thing on that list. Outside agencies. Again, as the board is aware, we did talk about cutting outside agencies by 10%. That is in the budget. So we did not cut outside agencies. We left outside agencies flat. I do believe that we did have an increase for watch because of an agreement, but it was about $5,000. That was the only one that got an increase. But again, the sheet you have in front of you is what we're recommending on capital, except for we have left the small capital for the schools, and we've left the nonprofits in. but we are still doing some capital this year. Trying to, make sure that we address some of our issues in Genoa, making sure we don't get too far behind on the sheriff's vehicles, making sure we don't get too far behind on other vehicles as well. Again, we had a late request on a tax increase for the Fremont Volunteer Fire Department. This is done at the request of the town of Fremont. They're looking at going up from 5.32 cents, going to 7 cents. The town of Fremont is making that change as well, and they're recommending to go up to 7 cents also. So all other fire departments are being kept at the same rate. Again, this is the next steps. We're having our public hearing now, and then we need to have our next meeting is budget adoption. We can do the adoption anytime after 24 hours from this meeting. And if there's additional workshops that need to be done, we're glad to do that. Changes that need to be made. If you don't mind, I'd like to kind of read the conclusion of what I have on the budget message. This budget is one of uniqueness for Wayne County. We've been through hurricanes, economic downturns, recessions, but never a pandemic. Staff has worked diligently to prepare this budget. Remember, this has all occurred while dealing with COVID-19 and implementing financial software. And also during this time, the last couple of months, we have lost 2 incredible Board of Commissioners members. So it's been a unique time for staff and for the board as well. We're continuing to address the issues facing Wayne County. Wayne County is very unique and never, Chip makes this great point, or point all the time. We don't go down too far. We don't get up too much. We are the model of consistency in our economy for North Carolina. With our military and our agriculture really the heartbeat of our community, we're not going to go down too far and we're not going to go up too high. So overall, this budget is really a very good budget. We had to suspend COLA increases for our employees. Not something we wanted to do, but with fixed cost increase for our medical coverage and state retirement, we had over $1 million to personnel costs without addressing any salary changes across the board. Excuse me. We did address 2 areas. One was economic services and DSS. One was our EMS salaries, that we were becoming training grounds and stepping stones for our surrounding counties, that we have addressed those salaries to make sure that we are competitive. So, but other than that, there is no across-the-board increases. We've made some very tough decisions in this budget. 12 positions were frozen and removed from the budget from different departments. Again, we had to cut Wayne Net as a service to our citizens. However, we still cannot make it profitable. We're also, one of the things we're adding moving forward with respect to personnel, we'll be freezing positions as of July 1. So if we have a position that comes open, we will freeze that position for a minimum of 90 days. If it is a public safety, if it is some position that we may have to be paying overtime to get that job done, we may fill that much quicker. But if it's a position, say, I'm going to pick on Alan in the tax department. If they can do their work after 90 days and they can prove that, hey, I've got overtime, I've got additional workload, I've got this and I got that, then we'll consider filling it. But if they can say, hey, we can live without it, then we won't fill the position. So I believe this budget contains a continuation of major goals and objectives agreed upon by the Board of Commissioners at our budget retreat. We are continuing to provide services and improvements even in these tough times. Excuse me. Even with the economy that we're in, we're still addressing the issues that are facing Wayne County. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the numerous hours of staff time that have gone into the preparation of the budget. I want to thank Assistant County Manager Chip Crumpler, Finance Director Allison Spate, Budget Officer Janice Wright, and Assistant Finance Director Angie Boswell. And with that said, if there's any questions moving forward, that we'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Manager.
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
I want to, just for my 5 inches between here and there, back maybe your second or third slide, you were talking about what we had to take out of fund balance to balance the budget. If I remember correctly, over the last couple of years, did you say that cumulatively we've taken $5 million?
Well, one of the things that when looking at the use of fund balance for operations, we use that. It's never really used. It's never really used. It's really just kind of a budgeting tool to balance the budget, because 99.9% of the time we overestimate expenditures and underestimate revenue.
I cannot believe you finally acknowledge that.
I'll admit it. So we are usually in the black. But again, to get us to that point, to balance, we have to use fund balance to say that we could use it.
All right.
But we do not anticipate.
So cut all the way through the mustard. So if our fund balance is this, and we take that 5.6 out, you're telling me that it's still there, it's not there. And then if we technically did what you said, we would keep on reducing that over here because we will be moving it over here.
Right.
But you're telling me it's still this.
For this year, for example, what was the slide? I'm sorry. Carol, would you go to the first slide? Could you?
This year's budget is 3.6.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Okay, all right. Thank you. Last year, we projected to use $3.6 million, and that, again, was just to balance the budget. I believe this year, if you look at revenues versus expenditures, we will be at $4 million to the good. Is that?
Let me explain.
This is serious when she gets up to it.
So original fund balance usage appropriation is a common tool that our counties and municipalities use to kind of plug the difference in the unknowns between your revenues and expenditures. And a good example of this is that we have approximately 1,000 positions in the county. Now, I don't know the exact split between full-time and part-time, but let's just say that there's 900 full-time positions budgeted in the county. So we budget those at 100% field, 100% salary. But we all know that right now we're sitting here with vacancies, and that we will have vacancies next year because we always have vacancies. But we don't know what that exact number is. Now, we plug in a contingency in the budget called lapsed salaries. It's a contra account for some of it, but that number is always exceeded. And because we can't know how much of those unused salaries will return to our fund balance, we know that will be sort of a revenue for us, but we don't know exactly the amount, so it's appropriated in fund balance, kind of. So that, when I say that that's a sort of a plug, that's what I mean. Now, our job is to make sure we're not appropriating fund balance for operating expenditures that we are actually planning to use for operating expenditures. Because if you're using your fund balance for operating expenditures, that's a red flag that you might not be in the best financial health. So when we use original fund balance as a plug like that, it is because we are anticipating some overages in revenues and some shortages in expenditures that will, as we usually say, file out in fund balance and fill that plug.
So our revenues are coming in on this is not a sleight of hand, but revenues coming in the back door as something else is moving out the front door. And while we're balancing the budget, but the budget stays fine because the revenue's coming in too. All right.
And the reason I wanted to clarify what Mr. Honeycutt said about being to the good is that what we do is we have an original fund balance appropriated, but then there are amendments throughout the year, and that is common practice, and it's because a county government lives and dies by their budget, it can't be avoided. We have to make amendments for actual use. And you all have voted to make amendments, and in our case, it has generally been for capital improvements and projects. And that's okay. Those are one-time expenditures for special projects. And when our rating agencies and the local government commission look at us and say, well, they're not appropriating it for operating, they're appropriating it for one-time expenditures. That's what they've kind of been, that's what that savings or additional monies are for. So we have more fund balance appropriated through those amendments for capital projects, but we do not anticipate using all of that. Right. And so that's kind of what he was getting to, but I wanted to make sure that I clarified
She
that.
explained.
Man, she jumped right up on that.
But again, it is that gap. It is that gap, and that is a standard practice of what we use. It's as Allison said, if you started seeing budget amendments that said we need to move $200,000 to cover payroll, then we got problems and issues and concerns. But if you see we need $200,000 to cover a capital expenditure that you weren't aware of, or we weren't aware of at budget, that's a good use of fund balance. So as long as it's not for operations, we're in good shape.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
This time, I call our public hearing to receive public comments on the proposed budget for Wayne County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2020, which was presented to the Wayne County Board of Commissioners at on May 19th, 2020. Do we have anyone to speak?
So we have 3 downstairs.
Okay. You got time to take a break? They get up here.
No, I don't need one.
I'm fine right now.
They should have been 2020, yeah. I said, okay. No, I didn't want to embarrass you.
Okay, that'd be fine. If you will, come up to the podium, please. I would like to remind you that because of security reasons, you don't have to give your name. Okay, but your name and phone number and address should be given to Carol Bowden, our clerk for the board. Okay?
Hey, thank you for having us here. Dave Talo, I'm the pediatrician that helped found WISH in the late 90s, the Wayne Initiative for School Health, perhaps the largest school-based health center in the state. But it happened because the Duke Endowment came to the hospital and said, you guys have the county with the 9th most uninsured children in North Carolina out of our 100 counties. And so they provided some outside funding. And we realized with our situation, it would be better to have a freestanding C3 corporation. So nobody really owned the WISH program, but we all play. So it's Goldsboro Pediatrics and the hospital and the public schools and the East Point Mental Health. And we've had some school administrators join us, and some community organizations like what I call Communities in Schools. They've got a new name now. But it's been a highly successful program, and we really appreciate the commissioner's support. The things we have found out is that to get these grants from the outside, two things have to happen. You have to have north of 90% students on free or reduced lunch. So we're in schools. Our schools are Brogden Middle, Mount Olive Middle, Southern Wayne, what used to be Goldsboro Middle that's now Wayne Academy, Goldsboro High School, and we're going to split the Wayne Academy, since it's small, with Eastern Wayne High, so it won't be a real change in our outlay. The schools will do a little more, and it'll expand us past 3,000 students that we're serving. But these are high-risk students, and probably the shining star is the mental health services we bring from the private sector into the WISH program to provide what the teachers and the staff really need and the families need, which is support for our at-risk students so more of them complete high school and go to work, so to speak. So I wasn't sure about getting into this, but it has been probably the best thing that I've ever been involved in, and I've been the pro bono medical director and chair of the board at WISH forever. The other thing is the need for local funding if you're going to go outside and get funding. So you have just been really important to us because we can show the outside funders that look at all the support we have. We have the commissioners, we have the public schools who do all our capital needs. Goldsboro Pediatrics is the overarching medical home and on call for the students whenever schools are closed. And then the hospital helps us with the director's salary and benefits, and the hospital actually employs our staff, so they have hospital benefits, and money flows from WISH into the hospital to take care of that. So I just want to thank you and make sure you know how invested I am in this program because of the number of at-risk children that we serve. And I'll let Holly Daly, who's our new director, make a few comments.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Want to echo Dr. Taylor's words that we do appreciate your past funding and continued funding. As he said, we are currently in 6 of Wayne County Public Schools serving over 2,500 students this year. And we were short a quarter. You know, we didn't make it quite 3 quarters this school year. So we were on track to serve well over 2,800 students based on our current numbers and about 17,000 visits. That works out to about $10 a visit for a student that can come to our center and get medical care, preventative care, nutrition counseling, mental health counseling, and health education, which are all vital to the success of our students. As he said, we will be going to a 7th school this year, Eastern Wayne High School, which will increase our student load by about 1,000 students at Eastern Wayne High School. We're excited about that. We will be doing that with the same number of staff. We're going to split our staff between Wayne Academy and Eastern Wayne High School because of the small numbers at Wayne Academy. Still want to continue to serve Wayne Academy because those students need us just as much as any other students, so definitely did not want to pull the services from there, but are just going to look at a new model so that we can serve as many students as possible. So again, thank you for the funding and hope to have your continued support in the future.
Good morning. My name is Pam Anderson. I am here because I am transitioning into the WISH director role. I'm an employee of the hospital as well as Holly is. And many of you do not know, but I also am the community outreach for the hospital, and that I have corporate health as well as the school health nurses. So it's a good thing that our programs are going to be merging so we can better coordinate our services for our youth. And again, we thank you for your support in this time of our viral illnesses that we have going around now. We need your support even more. So we appreciate everything that you've done for our programs and are going to do for it in the future. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming, Dr. Taylor. Sure. If you know of anyone else out there that has good comments for us to hear, send them up here, please. Thank you so much.
If you sign in, your name is, thank you so much.
Okay. Let's see where our deputy is.
And they are funded in our budget.
Yes.
At 175, there is no cut.
Yeah. I think that's.
Without a thank you for what we're giving them, or a request to put it back at what it was.
We let, the recommendation that you have is leaving all nonprofits the same, except for our agreement with.
We ready? Okay, I got it. I remember what you said. I'm sorry. I remember.
It was a thank you.
It was a
It was
thank.
a nice
Right,
thing.
thank you.
That's why I was asking for them to bring somebody else.
Okay, I heard you say that, and I was wanting to make sure that that was a right. Thank you, because I didn't want to make sure it was not a they were not overlooking a request to put theirs back at what it was.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I think that was all we had for the public hearing. I don't see our deputy anywhere.
Those were the only ones that they had down in the room, yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna close the public hearing at this time and turn right around and open up the floor for public comments. Do you know if we have anyone for public comments?
We're going to ask them.
Yes. We have anyone for public comments? Okay. All right. No public comments, so I'm closing the floor for public comments. Now, would we like to take a break here? Would any of you guys and ladies like to take a break? Are we okay? We okay? All right. Okay. Mr. Aycock, the appointment committee?
Yes, sir. We made some recommendations at our last meeting. We've had a slight change. We had 4 boards that we had appointments for, but we're going to just, I'd like for you to vote on 3 of those boards today. The first one was Mr. Brent Heath, Goldsboro Wayne Transportation Authority. You want to do these all at one time or one at a time?
You do them all at one time if you like.
All right. Then Mr. David Harold Overman, Thoroughfare Fire Department Fire Commissioner, replacing Mr. Joe Tucker, who passed away. And that's a new appointment. Mr. Brent Heath is a reappointment. Also, a new reappointment is the Wayne Community College Board of Trustees, Mr. David Jackson. And like I say, we made the recommendations at the last meeting, and it's the pleasure of the board. And that is a recommendation.
Just in the form of a motion, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to accept these. They have been presented from our last meeting. Does any commissioners have any comments? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have some recommendations to act on today, or to present today and act on at our next meeting, or either change it in the next meeting. Wayne County Board of Health would like to make a recommendation, Mr. Mark G. Ladd, for that position. Wayne County Public Library Board of Advisories, this is a reappointment. Ms. Nancy Wires? Raised. Okay, Raised. And that is a reappointment. Also reappointments to the Wayne County Executive Jet Board. Reappoint Greg Ricker, Chad Coker, and Paul King. And that's recommendations, and we'll act on it at the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Aycock. Okay, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is our consent agenda, which we went over at our pre-agenda meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Any comments? All in favor of the consent agenda, raise your right hand, please. Okay, unanimous, motion carries. New business, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you. As we discussed in our pre-agenda as well, the CARES funding for Wayne County, would like to recommend, I sent you an email earlier in the week about how we were going to look at funding. We have $2.253 million to use directly for COVID, and we would like to recommend that $1.938 million of that be right now held by Wayne County. $75,000 be set aside for Wayne County municipalities. $200,000 be set aside for COVID testing, and again, we're working with UNC Wayne on a testing plan and requirements and locations. So hopefully we can have something ready by our next meeting. Also, our health department, we also want to set aside $20,000 for Wayne County volunteer fire departments who may have had some direct costs for PPEs for their departments. And then, as Allison mentioned earlier, with respect to a position, we may need, since we are the ones responsible for the grant funding, we'd like to set aside $20,000 for that position as well as a part-time salary. Let me also say, this is as tentative a budget as possibly can be. We have been given really little guidance from the state. The guidance have changed early and late last week. So the budget will be amended probably a bunch of times, but the state is okay for us to amend the budget.
Okay. Yeah. Any, do we have do we need a,
Need a motion?
Okay.
Motion to approve the recommendation by the county manager.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve approval of CARES funding for Wayne County. Are there any discussion or questions from the commissioners?
Do we have a copy of that?
And I've sent it out, and I apologize. We were working on this Friday, so you may.
No, that's fine. I just.
Yeah, it's what I read out, but we'll try to get that out to the municipalities today, because we've had a lot of concern and questions because they've had some expenditures on PPEs and some plexiglass and cleaning as well. So we'll get that out to start the process.
Yeah, this is a working process, basically.
It is a complete working process,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Honeycutt.
Next on our agenda, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce our new health director, Dr. Brenda Weiss. Dr. Weiss is a former health director in, oh my gosh, the county in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. She came to us with more credentials than Carter has little pills. We were just blown away by her during her interview. We had some really, really talented people apply for this position. Dr. Weiss just really stood head and shoulders above those other candidates, and we're very blessed to have her. She, not a North Carolina native, but has North Carolina roots. So unfortunately, she has 2 daughters at ECU now. You know, everybody's got to go somewhere. You know, so everybody's got to go somewhere. So no, I'm just kidding on that. But we wanted to introduce her to you, and again, she has hit the ground running. You've seen a couple of emails from her this week about activities at the health department, and with that said, Dr. Weiss, if you would like to.
Hi. So Chairman, Vice Chairman, board members, thank you for allowing me to fill this position. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here today. One thing that I was told during the interview was that I had really great staff. And I've been there just about a week now, and it is true. I have very great staff. So I'm really excited to bring them forward as we try new things and build on what we already have. But they're just an incredible group of very dedicated, hardworking people. They're really, really pushing hard right now with the COVID-19. Hopefully we can get this behind us, get back to some normalcy, maybe raise some money with some grants, expand some programs. So we have hopes and dreams, and I hope to realize all of them while I serve you in the county. Thank you. Take questions.
Any comments, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Pate.
She's obviously the right choice. Any person like herself who could give counsel their children to go to the right school deserves to be working in that county.
Here, here.
It's a good school.
No, it is a wonderful.
He and I kid.
You'll forgive me, I'm sure.
And I'm sure you learned one valuable lesson today. Don't come early for these meetings. You can stream it online and actually figure out when to arrive. But we appreciate you sitting through all of this, and I hope you learned a great deal about us.
Yeah.
I did, sir.
Welcome.
Well,
Thank you very much, and thank you for interviewing me.
she's still speaking with us, so
She hadn't run for the board yet, so.
yeah. Any other comments? Thank you for choosing Wayne County to come.
It's a pleasure.
We welcome. You back in the friendly South, which I know.
Hallelujah.
I got a lot of great friends and some employees that work for me that are from Pennsylvania. So there's some good people in Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah, it's real pretty, too.
Yeah,
There
it is.
There are good people everywhere.
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
There's good people
and
everywhere.
some places you have to look a little harder than others, but they're there, right, Wayne?
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
coming.
All right, thank you. Next was the change to agenda number 3 is a request from GWTA for a transit fare increase, and I'll turn that over to Don.
Yeah, he's been here since breakfast also.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. It's an honor to be here to speak with you a little bit this morning about a request for a fare increase. I'd like to talk briefly about GWTA, give you a few of the high points of our operating cost increases that are pushing this, and then also 3 or 4 of our peers as a comparison. First of all, about GWTA, I'm just really honored to represent the organization today. We have been considered an essential service, and at the outbreak of the COVID crisis, we continued. The federal and state government has asked us to maintain our operation. So we have provided critical trips to medical appointments, critical and essential jobs, and other businesses all through the crisis. It has impacted us. Today, the request for GWTA is an increase from $13.50 to $15 in our billing rate. Just to be clear, I'm not asking the county to pay us more money. I'm asking to draw more money against different grants, whether it be Medicaid or state grants or federal grants. These funds would be drawn not from the county budget, but from those other sources. The last price increase we had was 5 years ago, from $12 to $13.50. So the operating costs have grown over the last 5 years, and this is really an adjustment to keep up with that. A few of those increases include health insurance. For GWTA, the health insurance is going to go up at least another 23% this coming year. So that is really pushing us. Also, with the COVID outbreak, our fare box, our riders paying to ride our service, we anticipate that being down 25%. At this time, our ridership is actually down 60%. So we're anticipating that it will come back, and we're estimating 25%. Also, our largest funder, the last point on operating that I'll make, is the NCDOT, and they are a great funding partner, but as you're probably aware, they're having cash flow issues. And so
they're out of money.
And so that they will fund us, they'll continue to fund us unless the legislature tells them not to. However, the steps that they have been taking have been to delay funding us. So the money does come. Last year, it came in January. This year, it may be later because it's a lot worse than it was last year. So those funding issues with DOT are pushing us. 3 or 4 of our peers to compare to, immediately to our west is Smithfield and Johnston County. And by comparison, they bill by the mile, we bill by the trip. And it's a difference that matters. The average Medicaid trip in Johnston County is $25.38 compared to our current rate of $13.50. If you go just to our east, Kinston and Lenoir County, they bill $1.75 a mile, and their director reports that it's an average of 11 miles to produce a trip. So quick and dirty, it's almost $20 for a Medicaid trip in Kinston. If you were to go a little further east and get closer to God's country, Craven County, New Bern, they're currently billing $16.58 a trip in New Bern and Craven County. And also in Onslow County and Jacksonville, they're currently billing $19.36 a trip on average for Medicaid trips. So all of our immediate peers on the corridor are billing significantly more than us, and they're reporting billing even more than that as a result of COVID. And that is, again, a difference that could matter for us in the coming year. So those are just a few of the comparison points. And again, we're just asking, the Board of Commissioners has the authority to approve our rate increase or deny it. And we do need at least this rate increase this year. If we do not see ridership improve, we're going to need a bigger one. So that is the information I have.
Do we have any comments, Mr. Page? Yeah.
Don, it's been a couple of years now since I've been over there, but when I left, there was a really strong fund balance over there. Is that still true today?
The fund balance, and thanks to the county, we have been able to establish one to put us in a good operating standing. It will cover about 8 months fund balance. But as the conversation was earlier, if we are spending fund balance for operating costs, then you're going to say we're not in a good position. And again, we're trying to draw grant money that's available. But yes,
I felt like we were still in good shape.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Doing a good job.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
Motion?
Yes. I'd like to ask for a motion from the board. What's your board's pleasure?
Motion to approve the rate increase.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to approve the proposed rate increase for GWTA as presented. Is there any other discussions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the rate increase, please raise your right hand, please. Okay, we're unanimous. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing I want to start off with is I want to thank to our community, our public safety, our emergency management for the operations over the last couple of nights. And I think there was some great coordination between all agencies, emergency management, the community. It really, really went as well as could be expected. And that really says a lot about Wayne County and Goldsboro and our community, that we really did things the right way. So just a huge shout out to everybody all around. It went as well as could have gone. And we owe a lot of thanks to everybody for that. Again, we had a lot of partners working with us. Our EOC was open. Don was helping us out with some vans. That was, just really good coordination and for our community all around. As I mentioned earlier, we are moving forward with the RFQs for the additional non-emergency backup. Chip and I met with Dave Cutterback yesterday. Dave's feeling like that there's some companies that should be very well qualified moving forward, so we're excited about that. One of the things that we've talked about, and we have James Wade here with the Maxwell Center. James and I met the other week, and there was a discussion about how we can open up the Maxwell Center even more. And that convention centers are now being lumped in with arenas. Come on up, James. And that's not helping us. We can provide as much social distancing as restaurants if we had a catered event. We have more space than a lot of other places. There are places in town that are allowed to have events, and we're not. So I'll let James explain it to you better, but it may be something we need clarification from, either from the governor's office or help with our local delegation about getting clarification so we can really expand what the Maxwell Center can do and begin offering some more services.
And in the last couple days, I've also found out a couple other things that have happened. So basically what I'm sort of requesting that we do perhaps is see if either the commissioners or the commissioners will allow the attorneys to send a letter to the governor on our behalf. What I've found out is quite a few other facilities have been doing this. Also, one of the North Carolina Hotel Associations sent a letter to him trying to explain to him the difference between where they have us lumped and where we actually are because of the abilities that we have to do social distancings and things. Right now, they have us lumped with entertainment venues, stadiums, arenas, and movie theaters. Well, all three of those other entertainment venues have chairs that are bolted to the ground, elbow to elbow. Your knees are almost touching the person in front of you. Convention centers and banquet space in hotels is very different from that. We are space, pure empty space. And then we take tables and chairs and set them up to be able to accommodate whatever is in our building. So we actually have the space to social distance everyone. I had emailed, and I believe he forwarded to you a couple of drawings. One was for a training where each and every person has their own 8-foot classroom table. They're all at least 6 to 8 foot apart from each other in every direction. And we can hold 78 people, which would give us quite a few events that we could go ahead and have. With a banquet, setting people at tables of 10, we can seat 450 people and still keep 6-foot distance from the chair at this table to the chair at this table. So there's no reason for us not to be able to do that, other than right now they've got us lumped in my opinion, with the wrong group of people, because we're not a theater, we're not a stadium, and we're not an arena. Now, Executive Order 141 does allow a few things to take place, weddings, funerals, and pop-up retail. And like in Greenville, they just had the hot tub sale. And so I talked to their general manager, actually she's CEO there, to get some more info on that. And in reality, there's never more than 10 people in the building. They advertise it and it sounds like a huge event, but in reality, it's a company that sells hot tubs. People come in, they had a waiting area, and only 10 people at once were actually in the room where the sale was going on. And then they also had a calendar of events up, as do several buildings, and I've been calling asking about those, and in reality, they just didn't take their calendar of events down. Everything else is pretty much canceled. The reason the hot tub thing could happen is in Executive Order 141, there's also a thing that says that you can have a pop-up retail event. And so technically, if we had some kind of sale, whether it be a flea market or a consumer sale or something like that, that someone wanted to have, we are allowed to have those right now. because it is an exception that's in there because it falls in line with the retail stores, like grocery stores, Target and all that, instead of falling into what we are otherwise. And so I just feel that, you know, when it comes to our business, there's a lot of people that don't understand the difference between the businesses, you know, arenas, entertainment venues and all that. And so I think we just need to add our voice to a lot of the other buildings and hotels that are telling the governor, you know, this is not quite right, because we can actually do the social distancing. And we have caterers that come in, they can do the social distancing. So we just sort of need to let him know that. One of the things that we also need to say in the letter, that several other buildings are also writing letters to get across to him, is what everyone is afraid of is that at the end of June, he's going to say, okay, well, we can now have a meeting of 50. That's not going to solve the problem for our business. We need to be able to have 50% occupancy. Because at 50% occupancy, we can still social distance. Our occupancy, which I sent you a picture of our sign, but we can hold 2,324 people in our large hall. And for a banquet, we can normally do up to 900. So at 50%, it comes to the 450, which was on that layout. And those are all socially distanced groups of 10. So I would like to see if we could send a letter saying that. Just a note about lost opportunity. Since mid-March, we've had just a few events that were all like 10 people or below. Several of them were actually county events. But we have, so far have refunded $16,781.59. And in reality, that represents about $28,000 in rental income, because some of the people had paid us their deposits, but not the second half. So we only had to refund what we had. We have quite a few people, dozens of people, in fact, that have rescheduled to fall or next spring. And so the money's just riding it out until their event happens. Some of the people that ended up asking for refunds, like the Girl Scouts, were around $7,000 of that. And it was the state Girl Scout leaders, and they have a rotation, so they're in a different city every year, and so for the next 3 years, they're already somewhere else. So we had to just give them a refund because they can't reschedule that yet. We had a couple of corporate trainings that ask us for refunds because their fiscal year ends June 30th, and we couldn't do the reschedule prior to then, so they had to get a refund. But like one of them is TA Loving. They've already scheduled trainings next fiscal year in the fall also that they're paying us for. So it's like we had to give money back, but they're turning around and giving it to us. We missed out probably on about $12,000 in alcohol sales so far while we've been closed, and we've missed out on about $18,000 in catering fees. So this definitely has impacted our potential earnings. While we're not doing much event-wise, we have been doing everything we can with the building. The building's been totally clean. The carpet's been steam cleaned. The furniture's been steam cleaned. We've done inventory. We've done several staff trainings because we're switching all of our financial stuff to, instead of Excel, to be in a program that we were already paying for. And the people who do the program software have made changes so that we can use it. So we've been doing staff trainings and getting all of that input and done. I've got one other thing to talk about, but are there any questions about that? What's your all's thoughts on a letter?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I do have a question. If you have an event, what will be the requirement for disinfectant cleaning during the process and after? Will that be provided?
Right. So basically, what we have done, we've got an order in. Kendall is ordering us like 8 freestanding. We already have a couple permanent, but 8 freestanding hand sanitizers, so that wherever the meetings are, we can move the hand sanitizers around. We are in the process of getting some masks so that if someone comes and doesn't have a mask, they can get a mask. And then just all the social distancing. Plus, while the event is going on, well, before the event and after too, but we have housekeepers that clean. And Keisha, who is our main housekeeper, is there every day. She's washing down doors, bathroom doors, front doors, handles, tables that, people might share. And I mean, she literally just constantly makes a circle and cleans whatever she needs to clean, so.
And we also brought those spray machines. So we can, we've got one on order, we've ordered 2 more that we can disinfect. We have been paying the county right now, I think once a week, we're doing all of our buildings. So we're doing that. We want to bring that in-house. So Kendall's group, we've got 3 machines ordered, and those are COVID-related expenses.
And we have, since we own all of our tables and everything and chairs, like when we have had the small events that we've had, as soon as the event's over, they also clean and disinfect all of those tables and chairs before they put them back into inventory. So everything is being cleaned constantly, and then when they set them out, they actually clean them again, so. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do have a question in regards to the executive order. Did it not exempt weddings and funerals?
It did exempt weddings and funerals, but the problem is it exempted the wedding, not the wedding reception. So I can have 100 people in for a wedding, but as soon as the kiss is done, they got to leave the building. And most people don't want my building to come kiss. They want the building to have the party afterwards.
Well, how was that interpreted to be only the wedding and not
Because
the
it's a
wedding
religious ceremony.
Really?
I asked that question.
You did ask
And I
that.
did ask that question. It's because the wedding
Inquiring minds
ceremony
think alike.
is, exactly, is considered a religious ceremony.
Yeah.
How much crazier is this world gonna get?
Amen, brother.
And there are some venues out there now that can do.
Right, and I don't want to throw anyone under
Right, don't mention
the bus
it.
by
Don't
name,
mention
but
by
there
name.
are some places that have their own kitchen and open a couple days a week as a restaurant, and they've always done that. So now they're claiming they fall under the restaurant part, so they're doing things, even wedding receptions, that we can't do. And so that's why I just want the playing field level. If somebody else can do it, I should be able to
The
do
only
it.
question is, board, maybe you already written a letter.
Well, that's,
go out today.
yeah. Any other?
No, but Mr. Chairman, I would go ahead and make a motion that we instruct our legal staff and whoever else can send a letter to the governor requesting an exemption in this matter.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion is unanimous. Thank you.
All right, and that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Can I have one more note?
yeah.
I'm sorry, sir.
Chris has one other.
So I was supposed to come see you guys like 2 months ago, and with all this going on, I got canceled. So I did want to just mention to you before we get further into the year, and I've got copies here, if you all can pass those around. But the travel and tourism did do our economic impact report. They have switched from doing our, because we opened in March, so the first one they did was March through the end of February. This one they have actually switched to doing January through December of 2019. And basically, we did $5,399,952 in economic impact, which is up slightly from our first year. It represents a total of 236 event days. In 117 of our events actually generated hotel rooms. Our hotel room revenue generated $150,960, which is up from $117 the previous year. This represents about $364,497 in sales tax, and about $9,058 in occupancy tax for the county.
We just got to get you back open.
Exactly. Travel and tourism is going to be sending this out to the media and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay.
And I'm good.
You're
Thank you.
good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that part of your county manager's comment?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Board of Commissioners Committee reports and comments. Mr. Aycock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got just a couple of things. As some of y'all may have saw on social media or in other locations, newspapers, and insurance commissioner calls has been in the county twice in the last 3 or 4 weeks. First time he was presenting some personal safety gear to some of the fire departments, and he was back this past week presenting some checks to 3 fire departments, Austin, Fremont, and Paytown. But there was, I think it was 14 fire departments did receive checks this year. He just presented checks to 3 of them, which is good. It was 50-50 grants, and that shows that our fire departments are taking advantage of grant money just like our department heads are. Also, we'd like to send our condolences to Carteret County. We've been through the tragedy of losing 2 commissioners, and Carteret County lost 1. We certainly want to send our condolences to Carteret County. They're going through the same thing that we're going through. And also, as today we did resolutions for 2 of our great leaders that we lost, but Wayne County's had a hard time. We've lost at least 4 very prominent individuals since the first of the year. And I don't know what else we can take. And not only have we lost those 4, we've lost a lot of other individuals in the fire service. We're at the point now we're almost like the World War II veterans. There's not many of them left. And the fire service in Wayne County really got kicked off. Well, they started talking about it in 1957 and really got involved in 58. And a lot of departments was chartered in 58 and 59. But we're at the point also that we got very few of the charter members left in Wayne County that got all this started, the fire service in Wayne County. And we lost several of them since the first of the year. Also, we were talking about broadband a while ago. Just got a text from the fire marshal, EMS Station 7. When we purchased that property, we purchased enough land to put a tower on. They are pouring concrete today. So that tower is going up. And last, we might well have a little laugh of it. Craig made the comment that he's very proud of Wayne County for the way they've handled themselves in the last couple of 3 nights. And certainly hope that as the protesting goes on, that they're going to behave themselves like they have. And anytime you can stay off of Channel 5, you've done a good job. Yeah. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Worrell?
Yeah, I would like to thank the city of Goldsboro and the county for I know the last 2 nights we had the protests, and I would like to say to the protesters, thank you for not having a violent protest. And as far as we just continue to monitor things and hope things go well.
Thank you. Mr. Camardi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to extend from my chair my condolences to all that have lost their lives or transitioned to the next world. And Mr. Chairman, you did make the statement that sometimes we question why. Accidents are understandable, because an accident is exactly what that definition is, an accident. When our folk have fought through illnesses and taken the good fight as far as they can go, that's understandable. When the lives are taken needlessly and with apparent malice, that is doubly hard to understand. And I just want to say out loud that our law enforcement and people who are expected to save lives, I always bring it back to Wayne County. Sometimes we can't impact far off places sometimes, but we can impact Wayne County. And I just want to reach out and say to our leaders, our sheriffs, our chiefs of police, that they keep a close and continued surveillance and eye on all those folk who are expected to save lives and not take lives. And therefore, over the last several months, the national news has been full of people losing their lives in questionable circumstances. And as a father and a grandfather, there's not a day that comes up that I don't worry that the tragedies that we see far off will be visited to Wayne County. And I ask all of us to just, number one, say our prayers. Number two, try to have an impact on those that we come in contact with, to caution everyone to not take a life that they cannot give a life. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Pate?
Just to follow up a little bit on what Ed said about, and Mr. Worrell, protests that did take place, they were peaceful. I understand that there was some cooler heads that came in that slowed things down. A couple, I think, were a council lady and a councilman. Yeah. And my hat's off to them for doing that. And stepping up and having an influence on those younger folks out there. And I know there's some older folks that did the same. I just want to thank all of them, because we got to look after our county. This is all we got. What Mr. Acock said about Carter County, that was Jonathan Robinson, is that? Yes. And he was a county commissioner, and he also served in the General Assembly.
He did.
He was a fine gentleman. I knew when I worked in Carter County many years ago.
He worked down there.
I sure did. I was there for several years. We talked a little bit about hospital UNC stuff this morning. We've got a executive board meeting tomorrow, teleconference, and I'm going to ask some of those questions that we were talking about today and see what the thoughts are of the board itself. Some good news is there are more elective surgeries that are being taking place now, because they're just like us, the revenue was really a real problem. And I hope that that's going to get to be, there are better times ahead. That's why I suggested to Janie, I see better times ahead. And I'll try to give y'all a little bit better report next time we meet, after we meet both tomorrow and the following week. The full board will meet. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Daugherty?
I too want to give a big shout out to City Council. Councilman Williams and Councilman Matthews took a very proactive stance and helped in diffusing what could have been a very inflamed situation in those protests, and kept it peaceful. This year's budget was tough. It was a tough time because you're anticipating shortfalls. And it's tough because you can't give raises and you can't add in some additional personnel. And I want to thank the entire management team
and all of our staff that worked to bring about this budget, because I knew it was going to be difficult. You all knew it was going to be difficult, but you did a great job. And then I want to thank the Public Information Office. Hello. And our IT staff, because what we have before us now is a monitor, and this is no small feat, because with this, I mean, just think about that, what this can offer to this board. Today, we had remotely a presentation, and all of their documents were actually shown on our screens. We can now access a lot of out there that's in the world in regards to some training and some information that we, in fact, can have access to here. We can eliminate a lot of our paperwork because we, in fact, now can have all of that flashed right here rather than it all being printed and everybody having multiple copies. So we can save a whole lot of trees with this, and I just want to commend you for the work that went in with this, because it's good news. We're moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I could, I'd like for you to say Giorgio's name publicly, because, and Allison, am I right?
Giorgio,
He's the
great
one
job.
that came in and designed this. And
Scott, yeah, there was about 3 or 4 on that just really put a lot of work into this.
so they're the heroes. But it is gonna help a lot, and I'm hoping that this coming week I'll be contacting you to get your preference on printouts or not. So.
We're good. Great job.
I just want to say something.
Yes, ma'am.
I like this so much better. They gave me a little iPad at the hospital, and I despise that thing. This is big enough for a blind guy to see.
Look, I can literally
it's a
take my
big
glasses
difference.
off.
I can too. I can take my glasses off, man. I can see that.
I just wanted to thank you.
Yeah. All right, there's a lot been said. I'll keep mine as short as I can. Don't know where to start. My gosh, since January, this board and this county has been through a lot. I tell you, I'm getting tired of seeing these empty seats, just like we're seeing here with Commissioner Gurley and Commissioner Bell. I know that these things happen for a reason, but it don't make it any easier. I will encourage all of us to stay the course, keep our faith. We will get through this. Not only the loss of our commissioners, but my goodness, we're in the middle of COVID-19. Plus, all the things that we have been involved with George Floyd, that was a tragedy that this country will be paying for years to come, no matter what we do. It was wrong. If in fact the video is correct, he should be living today. He should. I want to address the public. I want to address what we have done here in Wayne County, and it's already been alluded to. Because of the citizens of Wayne County, not outside of the county, but because a couple of city councilmen took the bull by the horns, so to speak, a few nights ago, kept the downtown area and around this courthouse from possible looting and so forth. We in Wayne County are better than that. We've shown that. We don't want people from outside coming in and saying, hey, you need to burn this, you need to burn that. We are all for peaceful protesting. We all are. But devastation, destroying the downtown area of our city is totally unacceptable. I was sitting in a meeting yesterday with the mayor and others from Goldsboro, and I think one of the things that happened yesterday that every municipality should think about during these times is that you set a curfew. You don't wait. You go ahead and do it. Because setting a curfew sort of gives the idea that, hey, look, you know, we're going to take a little bit more action, but we're not going to get violent like you are. We're going to try to do this in a methodical way. So I just want to thank our sheriff's department. My goodness, when the sheriff said that he had 100 deputies the first night out at Wayne Community College, sitting out there on campus, ready to go. He had 100 deputies ready to go. So everybody concerned here has just done a tremendous job in protecting our city and our county. And there's a lot of people that are in this. This is not a one person. This is not that all of us together have made this happen. So I want to commend also the county manager and your staff in this budget process. I do want to also give a kudos to Vice Chairman Joe Daugherty. You and I will sit in a lot of these budget sessions, and gladly so, to help as much as we could on trimming this budget, because we all recognize that it's going to be tough. So all of you that were involved in that, all of your staff, everybody, Chip, all of you have put a tremendous effort. I think this budget is as good as it's going to get. That's where I'm at. It's as good as it's going to get. So having said that, that's all my comments. Anybody else have any? Otherwise, we need to go back into closed session, Mr. Parker.
Yes, sir, to discuss the location of business in Wayne County and to discuss matters with your attorneys to preserve attorney-client privilege.
Okay. Have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Okay, we're in closed